In today's fast-paced world, it feels like we're constantly bombarded by stress, emotions, and challenges that threaten to throw us off balance. But what if you could train your mind to remain calm and centered, no matter how chaotic life gets? Imagine being able to face any storm with unshakable composure, staying focused, clear-headed, and at peace, no matter the circumstances. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's a skill that anyone can develop, and it all starts by mastering the power of your own mind. In this video, we'll dive into 10 powerful mental strategies that can help you build unwavering calmness in the face of life's unpredictability. These aren't just abstract ideas. These are practical, real-world tools you can implement right now to regain control over your emotions, handle stress like a pro, and maintain your peace when everything around you seems to be falling apart. Get ready to unlock the secrets to a calm, strong, and resilient mind that will carry you through anything life throws your way. 1. Separate feelings from reactions. You don't have to be a prisoner to your emotions. How many times have you felt your anger, frustration, or sadness take over in the heat of a moment, prompting you to act impulsively? It's easy to believe that our emotions should dictate our actions, as though we have no say in how we feel or behave. But here's the empowering truth. While emotions are natural, they don't have to control you. The most resilient people know how to recognize their emotions without allowing them to determine their next move. The secret to mental strength is learning to separate your emotions from your reactions. Feeling anger or frustration doesn't mean you need to lash out or make a snap decision. Emotions are like waves, they rise and fall, but how you respond is entirely within your control. Think about it. How many times have you reacted emotionally, only to look back and regret it? Maybe you said something hurtful or made a decision you wouldn't have made if you had just taken a moment to pause. Emotions are powerful, but they are fleeting. Reacting in the moment, however, can cause long-lasting consequences. What truly matters is your ability to pause, recognize the emotion, and then consciously choose your response. The Stoics knew this better than anyone. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, taught that it's not external events that disturb us, but our reactions to them. In other words, you can't always control what happens, but you can control how you respond. That pause between feeling and reacting is where your power lies. By practicing this separation, you become the master of your own emotional state, rather than letting fleeting feelings control your life. So how do you put this into practice? The next time you're overwhelmed by emotion, whether it's anger, excitement, or even anxiety, take a moment to pause. Breathe deeply and ask yourself, is this emotion helping me or hindering me? By doing this, you break the cycle of automatic reactions. You give yourself the space to respond with intention, clarity, and control, rather than letting your emotions take the reins. Imagine how different your day would be if you could consistently separate feeling from reacting. You'd not only protect your peace of mind, but you'd also gain the power to face any situation with focus, composure, and confidence, no matter what emotions arise. 2. When life provokes you, don't show weakness. How often have you felt your blood boil when someone pushes your buttons? Whether it's a colleague testing your patience, a friend challenging your choices, or a stranger throwing an irritating remark your way. The instinct to respond immediately can feel overpowering, and the urge to defend yourself or lash out seems like the natural thing to do. But here's the cold, hard truth. Every time you give in to that impulse, you're handing over your power. The more you react, the more you allow life or others to dictate your emotions, and ultimately, your actions. The true strength lies in mastering your response, especially when life throws challenges your way. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself that while we can't control what others do or say, we always have control over how we respond. And that's where the real power lies. Reacting with anger, frustration, or defensiveness gives away control and drags you into a battle that drains your energy and peace of mind. Think about it. When someone insults you or says something hurtful, how often do you feel that knee-jerk urge to strike back? It could be a snide comment from a coworker, a cutting remark from a friend, or even an online troll trying to get under your skin. The emotions triggered in those moments are powerful, but what does reacting really accomplish? Usually, it only escalates the situation, adding fuel to the fire and leaving you feeling more frustrated or regretful. You might feel justified for a moment, but in reality, you've just handed over your peace to someone else's bad energy. Instead, the strongest response is to not react at all. By choosing not to engage emotionally, you reclaim control. You show the world that you're not a slave to your emotions, and you're not going to let others manipulate your peace. When you remain calm in the face of provocation, you not only protect your inner tranquility, but also rise above the situation, exuding wisdom, strength, and self-control. So how do you implement this? The next time you're triggered, take a pause. Recognize the emotional reaction building within you. Then ask yourself, is this really worth my energy? How do I want to respond? By giving yourself that moment to breathe, you regain control over the situation, allowing you to respond with clarity and intention rather than being swept up in the drama. Now imagine if, instead of reacting with frustration, you chose silence or a composed response in the face of provocation. You'd be demonstrating not only emotional maturity, but also immense strength. Every time you do this, you regain control of your emotions and reinforce your inner peace, feeling more empowered with each interaction. 3. Accept that life will never be fair, but you'll adapt anyway. How many times have you been hit with the harsh reality that life isn't always fair? Maybe it's the unexpected setbacks at work, the challenges in your personal life, or the constant stream of unfair circumstances that seem to hit you out of nowhere. We all have those moments where we wish life would just follow the rules we've set, where people get what they deserve, and everything falls into place exactly as planned. But here's the brutal truth. Life will never be fair. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can stop wasting your energy fighting against the inevitable and start focusing on what really matters. The Stoics understood that fairness isn't something you can expect from life. They knew that external events, the actions of others, and the unpredictable chaos of the world are beyond your control. Instead of wasting time and energy lamenting the unfairness of it all, they focused on the one thing they could control: their own response. Marcus Aurelius himself reflected that it wasn't the events themselves that caused suffering. It was our resistance to them. In other words, the frustration and pain don't come from life being unfair, but from our refusal to accept it and adapt. Think about it. How often have you been passed over for something you deserved, experienced a sudden loss, or witnessed an injustice? In those moments, it's easy to spiral into anger, resentment, or hopelessness, asking, "Why is this happening to me?" But here's the kicker. Those reactions keep you stuck in the past, in a place where you can't move forward. Life's unfairness isn't an excuse to give up. It's a challenge to grow stronger. When you stop resisting what you can't change, You free yourself from frustration and gain the power to move forward. The real key to peace of mind is not expecting life to be fair, but learning to navigate its unpredictability with grace and resilience. This doesn't mean turning a blind eye to injustice, but it does mean understanding that no matter how much we want life to be just, it rarely will be. What matters is how you choose to adapt, learn, and grow despite the challenges thrown your way. So how can you start putting this into practice? The next time life throws you a curveball, instead of wasting energy on anger or self-pity, take a deep breath. Step back and ask yourself, what's the best way forward? What's my next move? By accepting that life isn't fair, you take away its power to knock you down. You may not control the circumstances, but you can control your response and your path forward. Now, imagine today, instead of resisting life's unfairness, you accepted it and focused on how to adapt and move forward. You'd not only gain peace of mind, but you'd also build the resilience and strength to thrive in any situation, no matter how unpredictable or unjust life becomes. 4. Stop explaining yourself. No one deserves to fully understand you. How many times have you found yourself justifying your choices or decisions to others? Whether it's your career path, your lifestyle, or your beliefs, the pressure to explain your every move can feel suffocating. We live in a world that constantly pushes us to seek validation, to prove that our choices are worthy of approval. But here's the hard truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for who you are or how you live your life. The more you feel the need to explain yourself, the more you hand over your power and your sense of control. It's natural to want to be understood. We all crave connection, and we want people to see us for who we truly are. But the more you try to justify your actions, the more you expose yourself to judgment. You begin to mold your life around the idea that you need approval from others, constantly seeking reassurance that your choices are right by their standards. But here's the kicker. Not everyone will understand your journey, and that's not just okay. It's necessary. Your path is yours alone, and you don't need to apologize for it. The Stoics had a radical approach to this. They taught that the only thing you need to focus on is living according to your values and principles, not the opinions of others. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic minds, often reminded himself that the views of others were beyond his control. Rather than explaining or seeking approval, he aligned his actions with his inner compass. The peace you're searching for comes from within, not from the external validation of others. Think about it. How many times have you felt compelled to explain yourself, even when you knew deep down that your choices were the best for you? Whether it's choosing an unconventional career path, living life on your own terms, or challenging societal expectations, the need to justify can keep you locked in a cycle of self-doubt. But once you stop explaining yourself, you stop being a slave to the opinions of others. You reclaim your freedom and confidence, living authentically without the pressure to prove anything. So how do you stop explaining yourself and start living freely? The next time someone asks, "Why did you do that?" instead of launching into a lengthy justification, simply say, "Because it was my choice." Own your decisions without needing validation. You don't need to explain your actions to anyone, and in doing so, you'll begin to trust yourself more. The moment you stop explaining, you'll unlock the true power of living authentically. Imagine today, instead of feeling the weight of needing to justify every decision, you simply own it. You stop seeking approval from others and start living according to your own values. By doing so, you'll feel more empowered, more aligned with your true self, and more at peace. Because in the end, the only person who truly needs to understand you is you. Think about it. How many times has someone's words, an unfair situation, or an unexpected twist in life caused you to lose your cool? The automatic response is often anger, frustration, or a sense of helplessness. But here's the secret. This is the perfect moment to shift. Instead of reacting impulsively, you have the power to take a step back, breathe deeply, and decide that your emotional state will not be dictated by what's happening around you. Your peace of mind, your mood, and your emotional energy belong to you. No one else can take them unless you allow it. That doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or pretending you're unaffected. It's about understanding that emotions are signals, not commands. You can acknowledge frustration or anger, but you don't have to let those feelings take control of your actions. The true strength lies in choosing not to let external circumstances pull you off your center. When you practice emotional mastery, you can stay calm, clear, and focused, no matter how chaotic things may seem. So, how can you reclaim your emotional power right now? The next time you feel triggered, whether by a sharp comment or an unexpected challenge, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this really worth losing my peace over? If the answer is no, then let it go. Take a breath, reset your focus, and choose how you want to respond. Remember, your emotional state is your responsibility. You decide whether to be controlled by others or to remain grounded in your own peace. Imagine today, when life throws you a curveball, you respond with calm and poise, refusing to let anything disrupt your inner equilibrium. By taking charge of your mood, you empower yourself, knowing that your happiness and emotional balance are always in your hands, not anyone else's. Silence is your most dangerous weapon. Have you ever found yourself caught in a heated moment, where someone is trying to provoke you, challenge you, or drag you into a conflict, and instead of diving in, you choose to stay silent? That silence in those very moments is where your true power lies. Most people feel the pressure to respond instantly, to defend their honor, make a point, or lash out in frustration. But here's the secret. Silence can be the most powerful tool you possess. By staying silent, you regain control over the situation and flip the power dynamic in your favor. In a world that values fast responses, opinions, and constant interaction, choosing silence is an act of strength. The temptation to react immediately is strong, but doing so only feeds into the chaos, draining your energy and escalating tension. The real power is in holding your ground and not giving in to the urge to engage. Every time you react, you open yourself up to misinterpretation, emotional manipulation, and unnecessary conflict. But silence? Silence neutralizes the situation. It forces the other person to confront their own emotions and gives you the luxury of staying calm, poised, and in control. When you don't react, you avoid saying things you might later regret, and you preserve your peace of mind. The Stoics grasped this perfectly. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that true wisdom lies not in hasty reactions, but in measured responses. The wise person doesn't rush to speak. They take a moment to assess, to reflect, and to choose a response that preserves their peace. In this way, silence becomes a powerful tool to avoid conflict and keep your energy intact. Think about it. How often do we feel compelled to fill every pause with words, defending our actions, justifying our choices, or trying to win people over? More often than not, we end up escalating things, creating more stress and tension. But when you choose silence, You not only avoid the potential fallout, but you also gain the upper hand. It lets you hold the power to respond thoughtfully instead of emotionally. It forces others to confront their own behavior, leaving them wondering why you didn't react as they expected. So how can you harness this power of silence today? The next time you're faced with a confrontation or an attempt to provoke you, take a moment, pause before responding. Give yourself the space to breathe, think, and decide if your response will truly add value or if silence will speak louder. More often than not, silence will de-escalate the situation far more effectively than words ever could. It's not about avoiding the conflict. It's about controlling it by choosing not to fall into the emotional pull. Imagine today, instead of reacting with words, you choose silence. You let others confront their own emotions while you preserve your peace. By doing so, you'll discover the immense strength and power that comes from holding your tongue and staying composed in the face of provocation. Don't expect respect. Make it necessary. How often do you find yourself longing for respect, hoping that others will recognize your worth and treat you accordingly? We all crave acknowledgement, but here's the truth. Respect is not something you can demand. It's something you earn and make necessary. The more you chase after validation, the more elusive it becomes. The key is not to seek respect, but to embody it in such a way that it becomes unavoidable. The truly respected individuals aren't those who beg for attention or approval. They are the ones whose presence alone commands respect. In a world obsessed with external validation, whether through social media likes, career status, or public recognition, it's easy to forget that true respect is born from the way you carry yourself, not from what you try to prove to others. It's about making your integrity, your values, and your actions so solid that respect becomes a natural response to your existence. Respect is not a commodity you can barter for. It's a byproduct of your authenticity, your actions, and the strength of your character. When you live your life with purpose, grounded in personal virtue, respect follows effortlessly. The Stoics understood this perfectly. They didn't seek validation from others. They lived with honor, humility, wisdom, and self-discipline. These qualities weren't just words to them. They were practices that made them inherently worthy of respect, without ever needing to ask for it. Marcus Aurelius, for example, didn't have to tell people he was a great leader. His actions, his moral compass, and his integrity did all the talking. Think about it. How often do we find ourselves trying to earn respect by conforming to others' expectations or trying to prove our worth? The more you seek approval, the more you lose your power. But when you stop chasing respect and instead focus on living authentically, it becomes inevitable. Respect will no longer be something you need to ask for. It will be something people offer freely because your presence demands it. So how can you make respect a necessity in your life? Start by aligning your actions with your values. Focus on living with integrity, acting with purpose, and leading by example. Stop trying to prove yourself to others. Instead, live in such a way that respect flows naturally from who you are. Imagine today, instead of chasing after others' approval, you began living in a way that made respect an unavoidable outcome. You didn't need to beg for it or seek validation because your character and your actions spoke for themselves. By doing this, you would stop living for the approval of others and start living for the authenticity of who you are. And in doing so, you would create a life where respect is never questioned. It's simply a given. Never show your weaknesses to those who can't fix them. Have you ever poured your heart out to someone hoping for understanding, only to realize that their response left you feeling more exposed and helpless than before? It's a frustrating experience, revealing your vulnerabilities, only to be met with indifference, judgment, or worse yet, advice that doesn't really address your pain. Vulnerability is an important part of human connection, but sharing your struggles with the wrong person can do more damage than good. It's like opening a door to your soul, only to find that the person on the other side isn't equipped to handle what you've entrusted them with. True strength lies in knowing when and with whom to share your challenges. In a world that often pushes us to seek comfort from others, it's easy to think that simply expressing our pain will bring relief. But here's the reality. Not everyone has the emotional capacity or the right tools to help you. Some people may listen, but their inability to offer real solutions or even empathy can leave you feeling more isolated, misunderstood, and vulnerable than before. Revealing your weaknesses to someone who can't support you in a meaningful way only drains your energy and exposes you without any true benefit. This doesn't mean you should bottle everything up or never seek support. It means you need to be strategic about where you direct your emotional energy. The Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, recognized the power of self-reliance and the importance of choosing the right people to confide in. They didn't advocate for emotional isolation, but rather for emotional resilience and the wisdom to know when to process your struggles internally or share them with those who can offer genuine, constructive advice. The Stoics understood that sharing your vulnerabilities with the wrong person can weaken you rather than empower you. Think about it. How many times have you vented to someone only to feel worse afterward? Maybe they offered sympathy without understanding, or worse, dismissed your pain entirely. Venting can be cathartic, but only if the person you're confiding in is capable of truly supporting you. Otherwise, it risks becoming just another emotional drain. Now, imagine how different it would feel if, instead of feeling drained, you walked away from a conversation feeling stronger, more centered, and clearer about your next steps. That's the power of sharing with the right person, someone who can offer wisdom, compassion, and insight that nurtures your growth. So how can you avoid exposing your vulnerabilities to the wrong people? Start by recognizing the signs. When you feel the urge to share your struggles, ask yourself if the person you're turning to is capable of offering meaningful support. Are they someone who can listen without judgment, offer advice, or at least empathize with your experience? If the answer is no, consider holding back and protecting your emotional boundaries. Instead, focus on sharing your challenges with those who have the capacity to offer real help. People who can nurture your resilience and provide the emotional and practical guidance you need. This doesn't mean cutting yourself off from everyone. It means being selective about where you invest your emotional energy. Imagine today, instead of opening up to just anyone, you began sharing your struggles with those who could truly help. You chose quality over quantity in your emotional connections, ensuring that your vulnerability was met with support, understanding, and strength. By doing this, you'd not only protect your emotional well-being, but you'd also cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships built on mutual respect and genuine care. Have you ever found yourself in a heated argument with someone whose emotions are running wild, and no matter how calm or reasonable you try to be, they just can't hear you? It's a maddening experience, isn't it? You try to explain your side, offer a solution, or calm them down, but every word you say seems to make the situation worse. What you might not realize in that moment is that the best thing you can do is not engage, because you're only feeding the fire. Emotional people aren't looking for logic. They're searching for someone to validate their feelings. They're caught in a storm of emotions, and the more you argue, the more you get pulled into that chaos. The Stoics understood this all too well. They knew that when someone's emotions are in charge, reason and understanding fly out the window. The wise choice, as Epictetus would advise, is not to fight back, but to stay calm and composed, refusing to let the emotional turbulence disrupt your peace. Think about it. How often have you tried to reason with someone who was too emotionally charged to listen? It's like speaking to a brick wall. The more you argue, the more entrenched their emotions become, and the further apart your perspectives grow. In these moments, winning the argument is not the goal. Staying centered and maintaining your peace is. No matter how much you try to explain, they're too caught up in their feelings to hear your point. What you need to remember is that emotional arguments rarely lead to understanding. The more you feed into their emotional state, the more you become part of the problem, not the solution. Instead of trying to reason with someone who's lost in their emotions, the most powerful thing you can do is detach. Don't play the game. Don't try to win. Just remain calm and let them process their emotions without your input. Often, when left alone, their emotional storm will calm and reflection will begin. So how can you put this into practice? The next time you find yourself in a conversation with someone who is emotionally charged, take a deep breath. Recognize that the conversation isn't about resolution anymore. It's about emotions. Gently acknowledge their feelings, but don't feel the need to defend yourself or argue. If the situation escalates, remove yourself calmly with a statement like, "I understand you're upset, but this conversation won't be helpful right now." Imagine, today, instead of getting tangled in an emotional conflict, you chose to step away and preserve your peace. By refusing to engage in the emotional chaos, you'd protect your emotional state and send a powerful message to yourself and the other person. You are in control of how you respond. That's true strength. And over time, you'll learn that not all battles are worth fighting. Sometimes, the smartest move is to let someone else destroy themselves in their own emotions, while you remain calm and unaffected. Acting with a cold mind in hot situations. Have you ever found yourself swept up in a whirlwind of emotions, only to regret your reaction afterward? It's so easy to get caught up in the intensity of a situation, whether it's a conflict with a friend, an unexpected setback at work, or a personal challenge that feels like it's spinning out of control. In these high-pressure moments, our minds often race, and our emotions take over, leading us to make rash decisions that don't reflect our true wisdom. But what if you could learn to master the art of staying calm in the chaos? True strength lies in your ability to maintain clarity when everything around you is falling apart. In those heated, emotionally charged moments, it's all too tempting to react impulsively. But that's where true intelligence comes in. Learning to detach from the emotional storm and think with a clear, composed mind. When stress or anger clouds your judgment, you lose the ability to make rational decisions, and that's when mistakes are made. The Stoics, especially figures like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, understood the power of a calm mind in the midst of turmoil. They didn't just preach emotional discipline, they practiced it daily. The core of their wisdom was this: your power lies in how you choose to respond to the world around you. When things get intense, it's not about suppressing your emotions, but about recognizing them without letting them dictate your actions. Instead of reacting with knee-jerk emotion, the Stoics practiced pausing and considering their next move with clarity and purpose. Think back to those moments when you acted in haste. Maybe you snapped at someone, made a quick decision that didn't turn out well, or responded out of frustration. We've all been there. But now imagine if you could take a brief pause, step out of the heat of the moment, and recalibrate your response. By staying composed, you give yourself the space to think strategically and respond with calm, logical reasoning. You not only save yourself from regret, but also maintain control of your emotional state and your outcome. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself that he could not control external events, only his reaction to them. So when life threw challenges his way, instead of losing his cool, he focused on keeping his inner peace intact. This is the heart of true intelligence, the ability to respond thoughtfully, even when the world feels like it's crashing down around you. So, how can you practice this in your own life? The next time you find yourself in a stressful situation, stop before you react. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what would I do if I were in control of my emotions right now? This pause, just a few seconds to refocus, can transform your reaction and allow you to make decisions that align with your values rather than fleeting emotions. The more you practice this mental discipline, the easier it becomes to maintain calm and clarity no matter what life throws at you. Now imagine this. Today, instead of allowing stress or frustration to drive your actions, you take control. You step back, breathe deeply, and respond from a place of composure and wisdom. This approach doesn't just make you better at managing challenges. It makes you stronger, more resilient, and more capable of handling whatever comes your way. The true test of strength isn't in avoiding challenges, it's in how you respond to them. Stay grounded, stay sharp, and let your calm,